Welcome in to another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. We've got some actual news to talk about, breaking news that happened just before we got on the show, as Kansas City will be re-signing linebacker Drew Tranquil. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got Chris Jones tweets happening yet again. L'Jarius Sneed has some insights from teams around the league. We can make fun of Buffalo, and we're going to talk about our draft crushes. We got Thiz running the show in the background. My name is Quint Morris, and now two guys that have more draft crushes than a high schooler looking for a date to prom. It's the old man himself, JP, and the Professor the Professor Caleb. How are we doing today, boys?
We're good, man. How you doing?
Not bad. Tough, but pushing through. Yeah. Glad to be here, though, with you guys.
That's good, man. I'm glad you're here. Crazy times, man. I knew Drew Tranquil wanted to be back, and I knew the Chiefs were interested given the fact that Willie is going to require the bag. I'm glad he's back.
Look, I don't think how anybody can be upset with a move like this.
No.
These are the kind of moves that you have to be able to make. It's a small deal. It's nothing big. Tranquil is signing a 3-year, $19 million deal with $13 million guaranteed. The numbers aren't out as to like what his cap hit's going to be this year as to moving on. But, this is a guy that, made plays all throughout the year. He was a huge fill-in when Nick Bolton got hurt. He was a huge fill-in when Kansas City started to rotate their linebackers more. This is a guy that has just been a crazy good offseason signing, and now he's going to be here for a couple more years.
It's pretty amazing to me that the Chargers just let him go like that.
Yeah, and now he's signing. 3 years, $19 million for $13 million guaranteed. So really, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if we look at it and it's like $4 million a year. It's essentially what it is.
Basically, yeah.
It's crazy that that quality of linebacker was just on the market, and Kansas City just got him for really nothing on a 1-year deal, and now they're really getting him for another couple years for, again, nothing. It's a great move by Veach.
Well, and it's a great move by Tranquil when you think about it, because, look, he's smart enough to understand that his contract is really kind of, every contract is kind of fictitious to a degree. He knows he's got a chance to make that money, some of that money back in playoffs and Super Bowl. So why not do it? Why not stick around with the team you're comfortable with, the place you love? And like he said during the parade, this is way better than LA. And he's right. You got 6 fans in with the Chargers, maybe 7 if you're lucky. So he's
one of them is only there because they're sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Exactly. So you get all the free wings you want. Why not? Moving on, we got Chris Jones tweeting out some stuff.
Yeah, I would like to copy and paste my response from Tuesday's show onto now. I don't care what he tweets out.
No one should. No one should. Actually, what he said was good. It wasn't it wasn't like he was saying something negative. He talked about Andy Reid. He was happy with what went on. People are so freaking.
I will say this: he's hitting free agency.
I don't think he is.
I think he's hitting free agency. I don't think he re-signs before the free agency point hits, which is next week, is when the league year starts.
Monday.
I don't think we're getting a deal. I don't think we're getting an Ian Rappaport or whoever your favorite insider is tweet Saturday night where it's like Chris Jones has signed a 3-year, $75 million deal. I don't think that's happening. I think he kind of owes it to himself at this point. He's made it this far without signing a deal. He probably just at this point should just go see what's available out there to the world.
Well, he signed a deal with us.
Fair point.
He got an $80 million deal with us. It wasn't like he didn't sign a deal. In 2023 was the first, or 2022, I guess. At the end of that was his first real contract year because we signed him to a deal.
Yeah, I'm saying he's made it this far. Like he's, did everything last off season, missed training camp, missed a game, and didn't. I know he came back, but he's put through all the work to make it to free agency up to this point. I think you should. At this point, you kind of owe it to yourself to just see what's out there.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, if he goes out there and sees what's out there, any team in the world would franchise their left nut.
Yeah, I know.
they would actually
They would do
would
whatever
sell
they
off
could
everything.
do.
Yeah, they'd sell a kidney.
Get him because he's just
Just to
that great
sign
of a
him.
player.
Yeah,
And that's what it comes down to when you look at all the different things that happen. It just shows us that Chris Jones is just a dominant player. He can do different things. He can play on the inside, he can play on the outside. You can draw him back in coverage, honestly, if you really want to. I mean, he's just that great of a player. And because of he's going to hit free agency, it comes down to this. Does he want another Super Bowl and be part of one of the greatest teams ever even more, or does he want the bag? I feel like he wants the bag. When we look at these Chris Jones cryptic tweets, we need a Chris Jones tweet translator, just like they have for AB and all these other guys, because we don't know what he means. When someone first told me that today, I said he likes to do this. He likes to rile people. I draw you, JP. He likes to rile people up to make them just feel just like to mess with people. That's just how he does things.
Hey man,
And hey, that's how he wants to live with soccer. Great, it is what it is. But also, people get so like happy or mad, and I'm like, you can't just put all your stock on a tweet. There's
you think after 8 years they would know by now?
Relationships and things. There's gonna be some good times and bad times. But in this, he's probably I can never quit. He's probably made hit free agency. Honestly,
well, I think he's going to sign.
Just because he hits free agency doesn't necessarily mean he's not back here in Kansas City. But I think that he's made it this far. He almost owes it to himself to hit that free agency point. Everything in my sports fandom / being able to watch free agency for multiple sports, everything tells me that he is probably not re-signing with Kansas City. Because the only thing that I keep hearing that makes me hesitant to say that is we keep hearing reports that, the negotiations are going well. Both sides are on the same page. But we've heard those for 12 months.
Yeah, but last year, the difference is, though, Quentin, last year they actually said that they stalled. And that's why he did what he did. They stalled after he got, well, I don't want to get into that, but it stalled, and they said it stalled. They said that they were, $10 million apart, then it was $5 million, then it was, the injury guarantees, and it was a fully guaranteed money. This time they haven't said that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear something Saturday night or Sunday. I mean, when I found out about Shady McCoy, it was on a Friday, and they said that, and I put it out on a Friday, and what I was told is he was going to sign by Sunday night, and he signed Sunday night. I don't doubt that this can happen. I mean, the Trent Williams situation was going on at 12:30 in the morning. I know that because I was texted when he was getting lured by San Francisco or lured back by San Francisco. So I don't know
everything up to this point, and it's like it's not like he needs. It's not like, to me, he's already put up a case to see to be.
You know what? Hold on a minute. Hold up. Before we go any further, you got to stop putting this shit in the ether. You put this stuff out there, and then it just fucks up the whole world. So just end the conversation. We
didn't get Michael Pittman Jr., so my speaking it into existence.
We don't know if that's going to happen or not.
That's true. What if L'Jarius Sneed gets traded for Michael Pittman Jr.? I'll lose it.
And that is actually on the table.
I know, dude. If it happens, I'm going to lose it because we'll get to that. We'll get to that in our next segment when we talk about L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, you're this Debbie Downer shit you do is.
I'm not. I'm just.
Oh, you're Debbie Downer.
Everything that I've seen about free agency and sports, from watching baseball free agency to watching NFL free agency over my entire life, says that when these things get to this part, the player and his agents are just like, let's just see what's out there. We've waited all of this time. What's 4 more days?
I guess my whole thing is, I know Jones at one point basically ended up stymotzing the Katz brothers about a lot of this stuff because they didn't want him to play after week 2 last year. And he said, I'm going to go play. And he played on the tag. I don't think he's going to let them rule what he's doing right now. And if they're close within a few $1 million, I don't see it not happening. I just don't. I mean, he's doing too well. My worry is
that they're not within just a few $1 million. My worry is that the guaranteed money is much farther away than what some of these reports are trying to edge it out to be. I'm just saying that this is we can't listen to what Chris Jones tweets out and takes it as what it is. What I'm trying to listen to is the actions that are happening. And the best way to predict the future is looking at what has happened in the past. And everything that I've seen in the past in free agency is saying that Chris Jones is hitting the market and he's probably not coming back to Kansas City.
Well, we'll see about that.
I hope I'm wrong. this is not me trying to, like
Well, no, that's what you're trying to
on
do.
fire.
Yeah,
You know,
are.
he wants another freaking graphic that says Quentin was right, Q was right. Suck it.
I
Anyway.
don't need to come up with hot takes for those graphics to come up. They come up because I just am.
No,
That's what you don't
you've been
understand,
right one
JP.
time. You've been right one time. One time.
Is Willie? I was right about Willie Gay.
But nobody was 100% on Willie Gay. Everybody knew that
I
was
was
probably
saying
going to
that
happen.
last
And
off.
I actually said that Drew Tranquil will probably get re-signed because that's what I was hearing, and he did. So I don't put negativity out in the ether for it to happen. I just try to make it. That's why your name has the doubter in it. Anyway, let's move on from this conversation because you're frustrating me. So we got to move on from this conversation. I like what Philip said. I think we keep Snow. He says I think we keep Jones and Sneed. You know what? Here's the thing.
No way.
Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Everybody, and this is what I've heard. Teams are out there thinking that he's worth a third.
Sneed?
I saw a second for Sneed.
Well, that was what other people have put out. That's what they said it would take to get him. But teams out there are actually offering a third for him. And a $20 million contract. I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if Sneed doesn't come back on a tag. I'm just telling you. Why would you walk away for maybe a $1 million when you're going to make that up in the playoffs and Super Bowl and be on and get another ring? Jones has got 3. Why not get 3?
And 2, he may be like, I've already won enough wings. I need the bag. That's what gave him.
But even at that, I don't know. There's 3 things that I think he knows. And that's, 1, I don't know if I'll be as good on another football team. I don't have my cohort. I don't have my partner in crime. That's number 1. I don't have the same coaching staff. I don't have Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball, making it easier for me. I don't have Chris Jones on the line. I don't have anybody on the line. That plays a huge part in somebody's decision. If it's only a couple $1,000,000, I think he's smart enough to understand it.
I think that is true. I think there is some realistic to where it's like if it really is not a huge difference between what Team A is offering and what the team that I'm already at is offering. I think this is really universal for a lot of places. Then where you're already at sort of takes that home field advantage, especially when you've been on a team that's as successful as Kansas City has had.
Exactly.
I will say this: when it comes to Sneed, right, and his contract, we do have some sort of a mark of what Sneed's contract could look like because the Bears signed their corner, Jalen Johnson, to a 4-year, $76 million deal today. That happened earlier today, about 5 hours ago. So that's $19 million a year. That sets sort of the market to where Sneed could be at, to where the franchise tag is not just going to be this is a 1-year deal thing. That's the basement of what Sneed is going to sign for, because Sneed is a better player than Johnson is. So you're going to have to go over that mark in order to sign Sneed.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to sign Sneed to a $22 million a year deal over a 3 or 4 year time period.
How much is it guaranteed?
His guarantee. It was I want to say $38 million, but I could be wrong.
Give him what, 50 million call it a day?
Yeah, I mean that's basically what he would make, because you're looking at, and similar with Sneed's
5-year deal. Can you do like a 5-year?
Yeah, you could do a 5-year and then roll out in 4. Yeah, and roll out in 4 and be done with it. But Sneed his franchise tag is $19.275 million.
Right.
So, I mean, if he played on that he made less than $5 million in 5 years with the Chiefs. So $19 million is a pretty good chunk, and then also whatever you get for the playoffs and Super Bowl.
The biggest problem there is that one of the things that sucks about from the player's perspective, the money is all guaranteed, but if something catastrophic happens, that's it. That's your career.
You don't have any
security.
No.
So that's why players don't like playing under that franchise tags, because you don't have any long-term security.
Exactly.
Now there are 5 to 7 teams, depending on what source you look at, that have been interested, that have made phone calls about L'Jarius Sneed. The ones that continue to be brought up is Detroit, Atlanta, New England, Minnesota, and the Colts have all been talked about a lot. Detroit is a team that I've said multiple times makes sense. They have multiple picks that they can use in. They're in a win now mode, and they have a lot of cap space. Atlanta is an interesting one because they have the 43rd overall pick and 2/3. So they have an extra third-round pick and that 43rd overall pick. So they have a little bit of, room to see what they could trade for. I don't think New England really makes all that much sense, nor do I think Minnesota, because they have the 42nd pick, but no third-round picks. So I know Minnesota makes sense from a player standpoint, but the compensation there, I just don't really see Minnesota making a whole lot of sense for Kansas City side. And then Indianapolis, who has 46, 82, and Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah. That would be the best. Look, if you're going to do a trade and you're actually interested in doing a trade, that would actually be the best team to trade with, would be the Colts.
Yeah, if
right now
if it's in the AFC.
I will say this. There isn't a silent team out there that actually put their name in the hat. And when I say that, Caleb knows what I'm talking about. There's been a few times that we've had teams that have offered us something that don't want that didn't want their name in the hat. They didn't want their name in public. And we found out after the fact it was the Rams, but that's something that's going on as well. There is one team out there that's thrown their name in the hat and actually made an offer, but their name's not being put out there. He says, "Bold prediction: we trade Sneed and pick up."
I don't want DeAndre Hopkins.
You know what? Hey, man, Hopkins might. I have heard the Titans, so I wouldn't be surprised because he wants out of there badly, and they know that. I know, but he wants out. So, looking at his contract, it's not great. It's not horrible, but it's not great. It's not the worst contract ever. It's not like we're going to be eating a shit ton of money because we're not. But it's still not the greatest contract. I don't know if that would happen, but I know the Titans are interested.
Let me ask you this. Would you trade Sneed for Pittman straight up?
Yes. And the only reason I'm saying, I don't know, not straight up, probably not.
I need some picks.
That'd be hard. I'd have to have at least a pick. I'd have to have at least like a third or a fourth round pick. Probably a fourth round pick. And Pittman.
Because I would not either.
Yeah, probably not.
When I'm trading a player like Sneed, I need a pick to quote unquote replace him, and I need one to where I can get back, so where I can benefit my team. Now, let's say you get a second round pick for Sneed, right? That doesn't necessarily mean I need you to use the second round pick to draft a corner, but I need two assets for him. The other problem is that if you're getting Michael Pittman Jr. and if you're sending Sneed out, you get Michael Pittman Jr., you're obviously going to have to sign Michael Pittman Jr. And so
Absolutely.
Why would I trade for a guy that I then have to pay when I could go into the free agency market and sign another wide receiver to a cheaper thing? Now, when Michael Pittman Jr. was just, if he was just a free agent and I was signing him, I think that's a little bit different because then I could still get other assets by trading Sneed. So
I like the Calvin Ridley idea. That's not a bad plan. Now, was he the best last year? No, he wasn't. But he's going to be on a cheap contract.
He was a 1,000-yard receiver.
He was, but I don't know if he was the best, but it was his first year back. He wasn't playing up to par yet, especially the first few games, 6 or 7 games. But he would be a good asset for the Chiefs. I think he would fit in our system well. I really do. I think he'd be a good fit within our system. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The next few days are going to be really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
With what goes on, not just with Kansas City, but with all the football teams. I mean, you got Denver out there right now that have absolutely no quarterback.
Yeah.
Denver right now is $95 million in the hole and has no quarterback. They're not going to go in free agency and find a top-rated quarterback. That's for sure. They're not going to go crazy because they don't have the money to go crazy. They're paying Russell Wilson for the next 2 years and beyond. So they're probably going to either try to find a draft pick or they're going to find a backup somewhere that they can work with for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jarrett Stidham. But let me ask you this: what team do you think Sneed ends up going to, and what do you think the compensation is?
Look, my side of it, Caleb. You can go however you want to do it, but I think it's probably if it was me and I was Veach and I was doing it the right way, I know the Colts are going to offer up more than probably any other team. So I would probably either go with the Colts or Minnesota's not the greatest choice, but I think it would probably be the Colts.
Yeah.
Arizona, I don't know if he would go to Arizona.
Well, I don't really care.
I think Beach is going to send to the NFC, so I believe it's going to be the Vikings
It could
or
be.
some other sleeper team in the NFC, like the Rams, or it could be any other team, just because of the Tyreek Hill thing was interesting because it was within the conference, but at the same time the Chiefs got a haul, so it's
Well, if
just
other
where
teams are offering what you said, Caleb,
huh?
you might be right though, because if other teams are offering what I'm hearing in the third round pick, and the Colts come up with a second round pick, might not be a bad thing.
And it's the haul, and it's in like the Chiefs know they can just beat the Tyreek Hill can't just beat you alone. It's more than that. And if they trade him to the Colts and they put the Colts in here too, they know, okay, we know how he plays. We can just do things differently to get around him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm really big on Detroit being makes a lot of sense because like I keep their secondary is god awful. They have cap space to sign him to a long-term deal, and Kansas City can get multiple later picks from them too. They have like Detroit having 2 third-rounders means something to me because that means when NFL teams, you've seen the way Veach feels about this, right? When NFL teams have more than 7 picks, they take those extra picks that they have. It's like it's free money, right? It's a free, so they're able to wheel and deal them. And so why I would, getting more compensation than a third round pick obviously is what Sneed is worth. But what that means is that third round pick, you could package it with some other stuff too, and you can use it to get there. NFL teams view these extra picks, these comp picks, or actually that third round pick, I think they got from the Vikings for trading TJ Hawkinson to them. These extra picks that these teams acquire are viewed as just extra money. So they're way more willing to send them out the door to somewhere, if they have extra ones. So I think Detroit makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised that the Eagles haven't been a part of this conversation because they have
probably have to an extent.
Yeah, I think they have.
They have a ton of extra picks in the top 100.
Yeah, but they don't have the money. That's the problem. The picks are fine, but you also have to sign into that 20-plus year contract. And I don't know if they actually have the cap space to do that. Look at their cap space right now. I mean, they got A.J. Brown on a $120 million deal. They got Jalen Hurts at 65.
Well, here's the thing: they just keep bringing all these guys in. It's like at a point where they can only do so many moves.
Exactly.
They've done the last couple of years, and like it's really going to catch up to them.
They have $42 million cap space.
Safety. Gave it 2 picks, and they cut him.
I agree.
That's just
that's before signings, though, Quentin.
What?
I'm sorry. That's before signing anybody re-signing anybody right now.
Yeah, I'm on over the cap here, and they've got, so they've got money to work with.
Right now they do, yeah, but I think they're looking at,
and
what am I going to have?
That's before they restructure, any contracts or anything like that. So I think that Philadelphia, I think, should be in play because of their just because of the draft picks that they have and what they need. Because why was Philadelphia bad towards the end of the year? Because their secondary was awful.
Well, it wasn't just that. Their offense wasn't able to use the tush push as well. They weren't getting the yardage that they normally got. Jalen Hurts wasn't throwing the ball as well. There was a lot of different things, but yeah, their secondary was bad. Their secondary was bad last year too. 22.
They traded for. They've also have a history of trading for corners, right? Darius Slay was a guy they went out and they traded for.
The Lions.
So this is an organization that has a history of going out and grabbing secondary guys. I can't remember who they traded for a safety in the middle of the season.
Yeah, like the guy from the Titans.
I can't remember.
A 5th and 7th round, and he got cut.
Yeah.
So that is an organization that is willing to go out and make moves and make splash moves, right? They traded for A.J. Brown a few years ago. So I think the Eagles really should be a team that Kansas City keeps an eye on because they have cap space. They have the extra picks to go out and make some of those moves. Yeah, this is a team that I think they should keep an eye on, and I'm surprised that they're not in any of the reporting as to teams that are interested.
We'll see. I think that's their cap space. When I was listening to Ian Rappaport, he said the same thing. He said their cap space right now looks big, but they haven't re-signed a lot of people, and there's people that they want to pull out of the draft. There's a lot of things that they want to do, and the free agents they're going after, I don't know if that's going to work out for them. And Ian said that same thing. I don't know if their money is as real as what over the cap says right now. I'm just saying, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, right now, Veach is looking at it from different perspectives. It's like, okay, what's the best compensation we can get if he wants to come back? What are we going to offer? How are we going to work this out? And that's really how it's going to play out, I think, towards, while this entire process moves forward.
Yeah.
So, who we need to really make fun of? We got two teams we got to make fun of.
Yes.
We have two teams. First of all, it's the Bills. We got to start with both of them are just.
Yeah,
Good
let's
God,
just start with.
awful.
I have the list in front of me of the big name guys that the Bills have cut.
Unbelievable.
So let's just go through it. They cut Mitch Morse,
Yeah.
center Mitch Morse, former Kansas City Chief.
Yep.
Safety Jordan Poyer, running back Naheem Harris, the wide receiver Hardy, who I think was really just a punt returner, kick returner specialist.
Yeah.
And then they also cut their other safety, Sierra Neal, and they're expected to release Tre'Davious White post June 1 so they can move that cap number between 2 years. But essentially, they've already, in their minds, they've cut him. It's just not an official thing yet because they want to kick that $10 million cap hit over 2 years.
Okay.
So they have freed up over $36 million in cap space with that handful of moves.
$44 million buried. Plus, they've got $8 million back
moved
from
$8
Miller.
million from Von Miller. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've cleared up some, but they're still over the cap. All of those moves, and they're still over the cap.
That is the problem when you do I'm going to go all in on 1 year, 1 or 2 years, and it doesn't work out. That Von Miller deal is killing them. And that is the conversation we had after Von Miller got signed. All of us, we were like, hey, what if Von Miller comes here to Kansas City? You can be a pass rush specialist. He would be a great addition to this defensive line. Then he signed to Buffalo for a 15-year contract to go
6 years
and
really a 3-year deal
and tear his ACL, and he hasn't been the same since. So he has eaten up so much of their cap room, and they haven't been able to make a ton of moves. Over the last couple of years, they've kicked the can down the road, and it's finally the chickens are coming home to roost. This is just the way that the NFL teams are. There is nothing wrong with going all in, pushing your chips into the table and saying, let's see what we got. The problem is that injuries have destroyed that team. Your
coaching
offense seems to fall apart during the postseason, except the one time it didn't. But the fact is that your poor coaching decisions with 13 seconds left in the game got you kicked out of the playoffs. So
here's the thing. With Buffalo, I understand teams going all in. The Rams have done it every time they do it.
Rams did it. The Bucks did it.
Every time they do it, they trade off everybody, and then they're not in the playoffs the next year. It takes a couple of years to get back. Buffalo has been pretty lucky at the fact that they've been in the playoffs every year, yet now it's finally caught up to them. The difference between certain teams being able to do that, Sean McVay was able to do it. He got to the Super Bowl. He got to another Super Bowl. So it's okay because you have a coach that is able to get there.
I'll also say this too. The Rams, while they have that F them pick strategy, that only applies to the first round, right? They're very good at backpiling 4th and 5th round picks.
I agree.
They're also very good at getting with those back round picks.
That's my point.
Nakua was a 5th round pick.
That's my point. Buffalo's not that team. They don't have the right GM. They don't have the right head coach. They don't have the right coaching staff, period, to be able to take – they're in a bad position because if you look at them from a broad standpoint, you got a coach that is not very good at developing players. It takes them a while to develop players. So you're not really going to go young because you can't really put them on the field. Then when you spend all the money on these older guys – you take the chance of we said it on the show. What the hell are they thinking signing a 33-year-old player to that kind of contract that just came off a season-ending injury? Let's not forget that. He was injured when he got signed. I don't understand the concept behind it.
I know why, JP. I can tell the reason why. They didn't want to come Kansas City. They offered the bag.
That's why. You're right. So it made no sense to me, but yet they did it anyway. They're trying. Every team out there right now is trying to come up with ways to
outsign.
Yeah, outsign Kansas City, try to come up with players to beat them. It's not just the players. It's also the coaching staff. If you're not smart enough, and it's also drafting from their GM, if you're not smart enough to understand that your coaching staff is not going to be a McVay, an Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, then don't make those mistakes. But they continually, year after year, make those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they just signed Josh Allen to that big deal a few years ago. That big money is going to start to kick in. This was
Yeah.
his last year of the small amount of money. Last year, his cap hit was $18 million. Now I want to say it's $36 million. And
Yeah.
so next year, it's going to be in the 50s. So that, we talk about what's the cheat code in the NFL. You get a superstar quarterback on a rookie deal, build a team around him, and see what happens. Then you sign him to that, contract extension. Well, when you sign him to that contract extension, that big money doesn't hit right away. It builds up over the next few years, so you're still able to buy yourself some time. The Bills are out of time because that money is going to shoot up, and that's why they had to cut all these guys now. Because if they tried to kick the can further down the road by pushing these caps hit further down, they were only going to be able to sign like 3 guys to the roster in 2028.
Exactly.
So they had to bite the bullet now.
And Josh Allen is not the type of guy that will completely restructure his contract, kind of like Mahomes will. Mahomes will restructure in 2025, 2026. He'll restructure his contract. It'll still be a 100% bonus structure contract, but he'll restructure. He did a portion of it, but it's not what he should be getting.
Well, and here's the thing is, and I don't know this for a fact on Buffalo's side, but Kansas, like Brett Veach can just redo it. Like that's the way his contract is built, to where he doesn't have to ask for permission. They can just do it and pay him up front. It's a lot like when Travis Kelce talked about this on his podcast, when they were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you some of this money now, and then so we can manipulate the cap number." Kansas City can do that with Patrick Mahomes' contract. I don't know if Buffalo did that with Josh Allen's contract or not.
I doubt.
Nobody has the same contract that Mahomes has. Joe Burrow doesn't have it. Lamar Jackson doesn't. Nobody wanted to sign it. You have to have to get a quarterback to sign that kind of contract. Number one, the quarterback has to be completely in trust with the organization as a whole.
And that's huge.
And that's a huge thing. And no matter how you look at it, there's not a quarterback out there that can put the trust in to their organization, and not to mention the fact that not many organizations will put that kind of trust in their quarterbacks, regardless if it's Burrow or Allen or Lamar or whoever else, or Jalen Hurts. Those guys are out for themselves. They're not out for the team. If they want to restructure, they can. It's kind of like the Tyreek Hill situation. Yeah, they wanted me to restructure, but I said no. Okay, well, Mahomes doesn't have that choice, and he knew going into this what his contract was going to be. So that's on them. No team has got this luxury. Mahomes had 100% trust in Andy, Veach, and everybody else on this football team. That's why he did what he did. And they had trust in him. They don't have that luxury anywhere else. And they won't have that luxury. Not as long as you have McDermott. And I'm sorry, but Harbaugh's not that great of a coach. We found that out in the playoffs. He's another mistake-ridden guy, especially at the end. I mean, what's his face there in Cincinnati? I don't think he's that great of a coach. And we know Sirianni sucks. He's just a hype man. That's all he is. Chiefs can still restructure Juwan Taylor's 24. Yeah, I don't know if they can do 24. Well, they could to a signing bonus, but man, that would be a lot of money.
The problem with these contract restructures is that the way that these contract restructure is, the money just doesn't disappear. What you're doing is you're taking whatever amount of money that is, and you're dividing out that money over the remaining years of the contract into the cap hit. So let's say you're trying to move, let's just keep the numbers simple. Let's say you're trying to move $10 million over the next 2 years. So what you're doing is you're taking $5 million onto the 1 year and $5 million onto the next year. So the money, it's not like the money's disappearing, but what you're doing is you're kicking the can down the road. And what that allows you to do is, as the cap goes up, that $1 million that you're moving down now, well, that $1 million isn't worth as much next year because the salary cap's going up. So the percentage of it is smaller. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to say, okay, I'm going to move $10 million over the next couple of years with X player's contract. Now I'm going to go outside. I'm going to sign a wide receiver to an $8.5 million contract. So what these little moves could do is it just allows a little bit more cap flexibility. But like, you don't want to move all of the Mahomes contract at once, because you don't want to throw $35 million, all at once further down the line. That's why Patrick Mahomes, some of his years are going to be like $65 million cap hits. It's why you'll see, like I think Philip just brought it up in the chat, he'll have some people's. Philip just says Juwan Taylor's salary is $19.5 million with $25 million cap hit. That's why, because the salary and the cap hit aren't going to be the same number because it's how it's drawn up in the contract.
Correct.
The salary is not what matters to us as fans. What matters is the cap hit. That's what matters.
Joe, he said that's 500,000 per penalty. Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah, I agree with you, and you're right. They can't. There's ways of manipulating the contracts if you do it right, and the cap. Veach is probably the best I've ever seen at that.
Well, we just lost our cap guy to the Panthers, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but Veach was the one that put him in place. So Veach knows what he's doing. Veach didn't have that guy in 2018. Okay, that wasn't the same guy in 2018. It was Veach. Veach doing all of that. He just needed to take some load off of him, and he's the one that taught him what to do. I don't see this being an issue moving forward. The Taylor contract bothers me because from what I understand, is that he has to agree to a restructure. It's not in his contract that we can just restructure him at any point. So that's frustrating because this year he may not want to restructure. I don't know why he wouldn't, but I'm just saying he can go to that point and say, I don't want to restructure. Then what? You know what I mean? Then you're kind of screwed. You're stuck with that $19.5 million. So that's the only player on this team that really has me a little bit concerned. The only one. Joe Thuney's fine with it. Yeah. Joe Thuney's fine with restructuring. Travis Kelce's fine with restructuring. Mahomes is fine with restructuring. He's the only one on this team that's under contract right now that scares me. Because who knows? He was pissed off last year or during the 23 season because he was getting so many penalties. He thought that they were targeting him. But he was making mistakes. He got away with it the year before. Peterson's the one that brought that up.
Yeah.
He made it a big deal during that game. And that caused us problems. Caused him problems. So
fair point.
We'll have to see what happens. But anyway, we got to get into some draft pick.
Yes, we do. I've got one that I know that I've been raving about off and on throughout the season. So I want to talk a little offensive line. Anybody that watches local college football, you'll recognize this name, Cooper Beebe, left guard out of K-State.
Yes.
This is a guy that I've been paying attention for a while. I watch a lot of Wildcat football. This is a guy that I think could fit well here in Kansas City. This is a guy that he played left tackle his sophomore year in college. They moved him to left guard, where he has thrived. There's a lot of good things about Cooper Beebe. One, the guy is just physical. Okay, this is a man that you want to, when you watch some of his plays, run plays, pass plays. This is a guy that likes to get after it. We have a clip here, I believe, and you can go ahead and run it, Thiz, of Cooper Beebe moving downfield and run blocking, where he just mauls a dude. I mean, full on pancake block. And I pulled this one example, not because it's a shot in the dark, but because his highlight reel is just endless roll of him going after dudes and smashing them into the ground. The fact that he played left tackle and then moved to guard, there is some reasoning behind it. Some of it was just because K-State had one of the best offensive lines in all of college football, and so he had to play somewhere. I think the other part of it is that he has shorter arms, and this was something that was brought up in the combine, is that because his arms are shorter than most tackles, what it allows guys to do is they're able to get outside leverage on him. And so one of the reasons why like an Orlando Brown Jr. is effective as a tackle is because when his footwork gets messed up, he's still able to keep guys at arm's length just because he has some of that reach. So they moved BB into guard, but he only allowed 8 quarterback hurries, no quarterback hits, and 1 sack while playing all 12 games at guard. Last year in 2022, he didn't allow any sacks while playing guard. So this is a guy that is physical, and is just an overall great prospect. And I love me some Wildcat football.
Thiz, do you have that clip for him? Something going on with the clips. There it is.
That's the Penn State.
That's Penn State.
The K-State Cooper Beebe. Watch this clip, okay? So he's on near the top of the screen, number 50. You just see him eat up.
Yeah.
And that is not an outlier. Watch him, number 50. He's pulling out to the left. Boom!
Boom.
Oh my God, dude!
Good.
I love it. Okay,
That was
a hell of a hit, and it's not just one time. You know, this is something that he did all throughout his 4 years of playing, both at tackle and guard. He has been rated as sort of a back end of like the 4th round-ish, and I think a lot of that is just because of his short arms, and guards are not as valuable in the NFL. So I think that that's a guy that I'm paying attention to. He is a great pick for Kansas City, and it would help you because Tooney is not going to sign another contract here in Kansas City. You need to get cheaper at that position. Why not draft a guy to be able to come up and play, be that backup guy? You know that you need another backup guard because you're going to miss Andrew Wiley. So, boom.
Yeah.
Cooper Beebe.
Good player. I got to tell you, I have been looking at tight ends because, of course, we're going to have to draft somebody. It is what it is. The player that I would love for us to get, we're not going to be able to get. I mean, it's slim to none. But looking around, I really like Theo Johnson. This guy, Penn State guy, 6'6", 259 right now. He can put on some weight. But he's got the height. He's got the arms. He's got the reach. He's got the physical abilities that we really like from a tight end standpoint, especially a Mahomes would like. I think we have actually a clip of him. But if you look at his numbers are great. They're not perfect, but watch him. Watch this kid.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got all the attributes that we want in a tight end. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the skill. He's just a quick tight end. Look at that. I mean, the ball was flying, and he snagged it square out of the air. He's just a really good player. We're not going to be able to pick up, the Travis Kelce clone that's, in the draft this year. But you never know. Theo, I think, would fit well within our scheme because they play similar ball. And I think he would fit well within the scheme. Great player all the way around.
Nice. My player.
Just something on Theo Johnson. I think he's very much like a Noah Gray.
I think he's way better than Noah Gray. He's taller.
I think he's very much like a Noah Gray with the fact that he definitely needs some development to him. I think the problem with coming from a place like Penn State is that, as a tight end, your route tree isn't all that complicated. You're running a lot of very basic stuff, and that's just an overall problem with college tight ends in general. But because you have Travis Kelce, I think having that sort of idea of, the guy, sit behind him and watch and learn, I think sometimes that's overblown. In this case, I don't. The fact that he caught a lot of balls in college is a huge plus for me because there are so many times where you get tight ends that are really used more as blocking tight ends and don't catch a lot of balls. Think of like the Belldozers of the world, right? Kansas City's been trying to find that sort of next level tight end for a while. So I do think that Theo Johnson is a good option to get later in there. He's got some stuff to work on, but that's okay because you can work on some of that stuff because you're not going to have to depend on him. I just like to see him sort of develop a better route tree and be able to, run and fill some of those voids like Travis Kelce does.
I think
that's all I want to say on him.
He has a lot of ability. The difference between him and Noah Gray is he's a lot taller. He's bigger. He's got longer arms. He plays more like a wide receiver than kind of like Travis Kelce does. And I think that's what I like about him. And he's right. I mean, he's got a 130.0 passer rating when targeted. That's pretty damn strong for a tight end. His numbers are great. He's the actually only other tight end I think's in that category in the draft right now, besides Brock Bowers. And that's pretty outstanding for somebody that's probably going to go 4th round.
Third,
most
fourth.
likely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 4th round pick. But I think he'd be a good pickup for us. He knows what he's doing. And I think he's got the football IQ to be able to pick it up pretty quickly. Is he going to learn it the first year? We're not going to need him the first year. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
next gen stats had one of them has him as the third most athletic scorer in the tight end range for
Mm,
this year's draft. So this is a guy that we I do think that, like I said, I do think he is a good player. I don't want to take anything away from him. I do think that his route running ability is a little questionable, but that's something that you can fix with coaching. So
mhm.
I'm totally on board with giving a fifth round pick, a fourth round pick to pick up a guy like that, because I know it's not as fun of a conversation to have on the show, but Kansas City will eventually need to find a replacement for Travis
Oh,
Kelce.
they have to, and that's a guy that could be the future right there.
Okay, who you got, Caleb?
So my player is going to be Malik Neighbors, wide receiver at LSU. If you look at everything he's been able to do the last couple of years, he's been a dominant wide receiver. He's a guy, if you get him on the Chiefs, he's going to be your jump ball wide receiver guy in the end zone. He's just that physical. He can high point the ball, but he also can catch a slant and take it upfield. He is basically kind of a Tyreek Hill, but also, I believe, also maybe a DK Metcalf put together through his speed and his catching, building, and getting down the field. When you look at all the different intangibles he has, I remember one game specifically over against, I think it was LSU versus Mississippi State, 11 o'clock. This guy literally had 3-4 touchdowns in one half because he just kept pinpointing the ball in the end zone and literally kept mossing people, just dominating, doing things time after time after time after time. And because of that, he was in a very, very, very great spot. So when you look at him, I believe possibly he could be, and this is my viewpoint, late first if there's a one on wide receivers. But I think he would fall between rounds 2 and 3, depending on what happens there. He's a top quality wide receiver, but I could see him possibly falling due to the rise of other wide receivers we're hearing about due to the combine. So I believe there's a chance the Chiefs could possibly get him. There's also a couple other ones I can think off the top of my head that could slide, that could fit our offense even more. But when we look at Malik Neighbors, I think he's a guy that could really help elevate this offense even more with the addition of Rashee Rice.
Man, I think that Malik Neighbors, honestly, I think he has a potentially a top 10 pick. I think
Mhm.
if it weren't for Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he would be talked about as the best wide receiver in the class. I
Well,
agree with everything that you said about his skill set and what he brings to the table.
mhm.
You're absolutely right. There is an insane amount of wide receiver talent in this class, and I do think that there's going to be two separate runs on wide receivers in this
Mhm.
draft class. So I think that in the top 10, you're going to have probably three wide receivers go. And then in the early to mid 20s, you're going to have a second run at wide receivers like we saw last year, right? If you
Mhm.
remember, it was wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, right? Right when I think the Chargers picked Quentin Johnston, and then the next three teams went and picked
Mhm.
wide receivers.
And it
The
calls the
Ravens,
run.
yeah, the
Mhm.
Ravens were in on the part of that run. So
Mhm.
I think that is very likely to happen again, to where in the middle of the 20s, there's going to be a route of wide receivers that go. You're going to
And I
see
also
Troy.
won't be surprised if I kind of like the CD Lamb when he was supposed to be a top 10 pick and he fell to 17 to the Cowboys. So I think it's very possible he could linger.
Yeah,
But when a run hits in the mid 20s, something happens to Chiefs. If they get a third round pick or a second round pick for someone about something, they can trade it off and get a bunch of picks. They might be able to figure something out if they want him that bad. I do
yeah,
believe there's someone else. I'm thinking off the top of the head they really would want, but hey, if he's there, why not?
yeah,
Unless there's medical concerns.
yeah. There's there's going to be some. There's going to be a big run at wide receivers. I think what's interesting is that when we're talking about every year, it seems like we keep having the conversation like, wow, this is a great year for wide receivers. Wow, if you're a team that needs a wide receiver, it's a great year to be a team that needs a wide receiver because the draft class is just so talented. I think that's just how it's really going to be moving forward. Now, do I think that there's going to be six wide receivers that go in the first round every year? No, I don't think it's going to be like that. But I think with sort of how college offenses are involving more NFL style offenses, or I think maybe the better way to say it is that the NFL is changing more to be like college offenses, to where these guys have the same talent level, but it's that they're more familiar with the systems coming in, so
Mhm.
they make a more of an immediate impact. Um, I don't think you need to get, a top guy. Now, don't get me wrong, it'd be fucking awesome, but
Mhm.
I'm a big like AD Mitchell fan, right? Because and we can talk about him next week. He's one of the other guys that we're definitely going to talk about. We're talking about this wide receiver class a lot. But someone like that, or Brian Thomas Jr., is from
Mm-hmm.
Washington. That's another guy that I think that Kansas City could be really interested in. I'm very wishy-washy on Keon Coleman. He keeps sucking me in and taking me back out
Yep.
the more I look into him. So
Mm-hmm.
Keon Coleman's a guy that I'm very wishy-washy on, but I think you're right, Caleb. There's a lot of talent at this wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
spot, and if a guy like him, slides down because other teams just think highly of another guy, they like one skill set of another guy. You know, Kansas City can benefit from that.
I like Keon Coleman. He was one of my picks as a wide receiver in the draft.
Hey, if he falls to cheese, I'm just saying, it's over for the league.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. He's one of the better players in the draft. That I think he's one of those sleepers that people aren't really paying attention to. I like him a lot.
Do you guys want to do other draft prospects? Or do you want to answer some questions?
We can answer some
Answer a
questions.
couple questions. You want to do questions?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we'll do a couple.
What do we got questions here? Let's see. Where are the questions at? We don't have any questions. First time. Oh my God.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy. Talk about a guy
I
that
like
rose
that kid.
he rose his draft. That's a guy that benefited from the combine.
Mhm.
We don't got any questions. Hey, let's talk about one of my defensive guys, Brandon Fisk from Florida, defensive tackle. Look, no matter what happens to Chris Jones, whether he's on the team or not on the team, Kansas City's going to need to draft interior guys. They're losing basically everybody on the interior, and you're not going
Yeah.
to be able to re-sign them all.
Yeah,
So
no,
why
yeah.
not go after a guy like Brandon Fisk? This is a guy that played 12 games, almost 700 snaps, and this is a guy that is a pass rusher.
Okay.
It's not something that you see very often. He's number 55. Look
We're
at
in
the
the right
big man
number.
eat. This is a guy that has serious pass rushing moves. This is not a guy that just purely depends on his size. This is a guy that has a true spin move and a true swim move. That I really like that about him. Now he's got some of that Karloftis like high motor skill in him,
Yeah.
Ooh.
and I really love that. Cleanup sacks are still sacks. But one of his problems is that a lot like Cooper Beebe to where, he isn't the biggest guy. So you are limited in some of that, but
No. He wouldn't be a replacement for Chris Jones.
You can't
I
replace
think he'd be
Chris
a great
Jones.
rotational piece, though.
Yeah, he's a
That's
good rotational piece, but I mean, you can't replace Chris
be
Jones.
the next player under Chris Jones that could help in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
just,
don't forget, people, we still have Tubbs on the practice squad right now. Let's not
yeah.
forget about
I like a guy. He was a guy that showed out in the combine. I mean, this is a guy that ran a 4.7 40, ran the 10-yard split in 1.6 seconds, had a 9 feet broad jump. I mean, those tell me that he is extremely athletic and he's got a lot of explosiveness, and that's what you need in the middle of the defensive line. So I think that this is a guy that is a great athlete, and with a little bit of help on his technique, and he's already got some, solid. He's already got a solid baseline for his technique.
He's built a lot like Karloftis.
With some coaching, he can become a real improvement here in the NFL level and can benefit your pass rush. Because
he's got the
interior
best two
pass
coaches
rush,
out there to help him too. So
interior pass rush is so important, not just on this team but in the NFL. Because what do we talk about when guys are coming around the edge to get after the quarterback? Well, just step up in the pocket and make the throw, right?
Yes.
Like
Gotta
that's a
have somebody in the
serious
middle.
option, and that's what the best pocket passers, that's what the best quarterbacks do, right? They
Yeah.
step up in the pocket and make the throw. You can't step up and throw in the pocket when you've got a 300-pound man who is blowing up the center right in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Brandon
We see
Fisk,
that every day
Florida
with Chris
State.
Jones, so we know that.
I think that he's probably another late third-round pick guy. So late second, maybe late, third-round
He's
pick.
probably going to drop to the third, but I agree. He's probably going to be in the third round. I don't see him getting to the second, but I can see him being in the third. Probably mid to high third round.
Those are my two guys that I wanted to highlight
Did you bring
today.
up Keon Coleman when my internet
I did.
dropped?
Did I?
I don't know. Somebody brought him
I
up.
brought Neighbors, and Quentin just bring him up like comparison value.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I really like Coleman. I had him. In fact, I wanted him on. I was going to bring him up on the show. I think he's got all the attributes and would fit well within the system. I think he could probably catch on quickly. It's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be Rice quick, but he's going to be pretty quick as far as catching up with the system. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. He said, "Will we have a surprise free agency signing?"
Yeah, KJ Osborne.
Yeah.
I think we will. I don't know that. Veach is not going to go out.
That's not who you expect.
Yeah, he's not going to go out and spend a ton of money. He is a true X receiver, absolutely is. But I think they're gonna sign somebody. I don't know if it's even going to be a wide receiver at this point. Right now, Veach is really excited about the draft and the wide receivers in the draft. So who knows? And with what Rice was able to do, he may stick with who he has. And who's resigning with the Patriots? Who's resigning with the Patriots, Joe?
Not for sure.
If I were to say that there's a surprise signing, I'm not sure who the player is, but with all of these veteran safeties that's on the market, Kansas City's getting one of them.
Yeah,
I agree.
mean, there's no
Like
doubt.
that, the market for safeties is so saturated right now and Kansas City needs a safety, right? You lost Deion Bush, and with all of the safeties that are on the market right now, Kansas City is going to be able to nab one of them up, sort of like they did with the linebackers, right? So why Kansas City should be able to snag one of those guys. It's
There's a
weird
couple of
that
corners out there too right now.
It's loaded. It's cornerback.
Corners are
it's
everywhere
really
right
weird that like the NFL, even though the more passing offense we're going, the NFL seems to value safeties less. And maybe this is just an outlier. Maybe this is an outlier year, and so this isn't something that's going to happen again. But it's just weird to me that we've seen a whole bunch of safeties get cut. I mean, it baffles me.
Well, here's the thing. If
When
you
the best
remember, though,
defenses in the NFL have at least one great corner, one great safety.
5 years ago, it was a different story. I mean, Veach didn't value corners as much as he did safeties. Remember that? I mean, we had 4 corners at one point.
Super Bowl, first one.
Yeah, and now he's kind of flipped the script a little bit. I think every team has kind of flipped the script. They're looking more, safeties are more help over the top. You need a corner that can actually pull, Tarvarius Ward or a Sneed or somebody of that nature. And I know safeties are, you look at like Justin Reed. He's a great example. He's really good at not only playing, up close, but he's very good at taking on somebody one-on-one, whether it be a tight end or a slot receiver. He's done a great job at that. That's, but he's an outlier too because he's not the average safety. Most safeties can't do that. They play their position. They play it well. That's really kind of about it.
Well, there's
he plays
two
everything.
kinds of safeties. There's the
understand
in-the-box hybrid
Good point.
safety, and then there's like your strong safety, right? Guys that
understand
play
that.
over the and both of those roles are valuable to me.
But
it's
he can play
crazy.
both sides of that. He can play both of those positions.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys can't.
It's just-
we had Kendall Fuller that couldn't play both positions. Remember that, Caleb? I mean, he was good in the slot, but he was terrible outside. He wasn't a great strong safety, or even a corner for that matter, because he played both positions. So it's weird that sometimes you can get a player that can, sometimes you can't. But you just have to see how it plays out.
That's my. I don't know the name yet, but that's going to be a surprise in free agency. One of these, we're going to come on the show one of these days, and we're going to be like, "Holy crap! How did Kansas City get that guy?" And it's going to be one of these bigger safety names.
Yeah,
do you guys
dude. I mean, but
Sweat for
like
the
I said, he's probably going to go in the first round. Will.
Yeah, hell yeah! I would love to get Sweat.
Yeah,
we could.
Honestly, I'll take either of the 2 Texas interior guys.
We just do like
both of them
a
are
draft-centered show. Just draft. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. Well,
if you could copy and basically anybody coming out of Texas this year, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good pick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I agree with you, Philip. They both can play. You're right, 100%. But yeah, we're going to do a draft show. What else we got on this one?
I
That's it.
think that's everything.
That's it for this show. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys again on Tuesday. We'll know more apparently about Jones between now and then, and hopefully Quentin will
Maybe
stop
Sneed's
his
traded
damn
by then. I don't
negativity.
know.
Yeah. Negative Quentin will stop, and then putting shit out in the ether. So with that being said, we appreciate everybody for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will talk to you guys again on Tuesday. Have a good weekend, Joe. Peace out, everybody.
See you, Kingdom.
See ya.